We'll call the meeting to order with the pledge. I do want to remind everybody that it is a mask required. It must be over your nose and mouth at this time. So if you choose not to follow that, I will have to ask you to leave. So I just want to make that reminder right now. So I can't keep going on if everybody's not complying with that at this moment. All right. Welcome and introductions. Dr. Gilman.
Randy Gilman, Assistant Superintendent, Elementary.
Tammy Cardona, Assistant Superintendent, Secondary.
April Meckel, Board Member.
It's up to you.
Jim Shalhoub, Board Member.
Carol Yacht, Board Member.
Susan Graham, Board Secretary.
John Stewart, Chief Financial Officer.
Kelly Brock, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources.
Vicki Hansen, Board Member.
Michelle Chamberlain, Board Member.
Crystal Hargis, Vice President.
Paul Frigo, Superintendent.
Judy Smith, Board President. 2.3, approval of the agenda for November 16th, 2021. I need a motion.
Motion, Yacht.
Second, Chamberlain.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay. 2.4, approval of meeting minutes from November 2nd, 2021. I need a motion.
Motion, Meckel.
Second, Yacht.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay. 3.1, patron comments. Dr. Gilman.
Yes, we have quite a few this evening. Angela Barbarotta is up first, and as she makes her way to the podium, I'd like to remind our speakers that problems involving a particular or identifiable employee or students are reserved for executive session. A 3-minute time period will be allowed per speaker. A warning will be given after 2.5 minutes. The Vice President of the Board will be the timekeeper.
Good evening. Can you hear me? My name is Angela Barbarotta, and I am the president of Fox NEA. I would like to thank the board for allowing me time to speak at this meeting. As a local, my executive members and I decided to begin a new program which directly gives back to our community. Our needs are great, and as a local, we recognize this and have decided to highlight various organizations throughout this school year to help the students of the Fox family. So tonight, we are here to present to CASA, our very first organization, with a check of $1,600. This donation will help support the children of Jefferson County, and we are more than happy to help and support our children. Margie Passmore is here on behalf of CASA to accept the donation. She is on the exec board of CASA. I would like to thank all the teachers who participated in this fundraiser to make it successful. Also, Fox NEA would like to acknowledge Educator and Support Staff Week in November to honor all the dedicated and wonderful staff of Fox C-6. Fox NEA is sending pretzels to every school and department throughout the district. Once again, thank you for the opportunity for letting me speak tonight and spread some positivity. And Margie would like to highlight what CASA is briefly.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm really excited about being here because I'm a former Fox teacher, and so as my journey goes through my education, when you retire, like many of you know, that there's things that you want to really get involved in, and so CASA actually reached out to me, and I was proud to be on the executive board. What CASA is of Jefferson County, we are court-appointed special advocates. We're a nonprofit organization. Again, we're court-appointed. We recruit, we train, and we support volunteers who act as an advocate for children in the foster care program of Jefferson County. We have over 700 children in the foster care program in Jefferson County. So since we're a nonprofit, we are constantly looking for ways that we can go ahead and get money, and we are so proud that Fox NEA has decided to reach out to us and to support us. So and this is another example of how they are supporting our children in the county. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jen Amtman.
Last month, the American Academy of Pediatrics declared a national emergency in children's mental health, not because of COVID itself, but because of the unnecessary precautions put in place for a virus that poses virtually no risk to children. Mental health professionals around the globe have spoken out against masking, yet I have sat in this very room and been told by board members on more than one occasion who are not qualified mental health professionals that, quote, masks don't cause mental issues. I am a qualified mental health professional with a master's degree, a Missouri state license, and almost 20 years experience in the field. I can say with 100% absolute certainty that the ramifications on children's mental health from masking are catastrophic. Studies show that a majority of children are experiencing rapidly increasing rates of depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, and a host of other challenges related to social, emotional, and behavioral issues. You cannot tell me that going 7 hours a day without seeing a smiling face is not hurting our kids. It is no surprise that our school counselors and local practitioners are so overwhelmed right now. Much of this is due to the fact that our kids are being raised in a toxic environment of stress and fear. They are being taught to fear everything: germs, each other, illness, even the air they breathe. Prolonged fear is terror, and terror becomes trauma. This trauma will have lasting effects on our children in ways we can't even fathom. As adults, our job is to reassure our children and ease their fears, but instead we are frightening them into believing they are being stalked by deadly germs or might kill a classmate if they have the sniffles and, God forbid, their mask fall below their nose. Kids get sick a lot, and they should not be conditioned to believe that they are a constant danger to others or that they are personally responsible for the health of everyone around them. The science has shown over and over that healthy kids have near zero risk of severe disease from COVID, while car accidents and the flu are far bigger threats to them. Children are not responsible for widespread transmission, especially in the classroom. Teachers and staff have had the opportunity to get vaccinated and have the option to wear a mask, but we cannot justify masking our children to protect adults. When did that become ethical to put that burden on our kids? In healthcare fields and education, the golden rule for intervention has always been to use the least restrictive means necessary in order to encourage autonomy and personal choice while still promoting the best possible outcome. In this case, that would mean wash hands.
30 seconds.
Stay home from... Anyone that stands up here and says kids are resilient or they don't mind masks is lying and putting their fears on the shoulders of their kids. Kids are not as resilient as you think they are. They do, in fact, mind masks, and they are not okay.
William Lauder.
My name is William Lauder. I am a 6th grader at Seckman Middle School. I am here to talk about wearing masks in school. Have any of you shadowed a student to see what it is like wearing a mask for 7 hours a day? Have any of you tried to learn math or even Spanish from a teacher who has a mask on? How many of you have children in your home to ask them what it is like? Have any of you asked any of us kids what it is like to have this mask on our face for a whole day? Well, I'm here to tell you that it is hard to breathe, it is hard to concentrate, and we are tired. I know you have your charts and graphs and numbers that you talk about at every meeting, but none of you have asked us students how we feel. You say at every meeting you do this for the kids, but no one talks to us. I don't understand how I can go to a football game with thousands of people with no mask and it's okay and nobody gets sick, but I'm in school and I have to wear one. This virus doesn't know if it's inside or outside. It's confusing to us kids when you change the policy from masks to no masks. We are now the only school in Jefferson County with this silly policy. We need to see each other's faces. We need to see our teachers' faces. The teachers need to see our faces. My health should be my parents' responsibility. My education should be your responsibility. Thank you.
Sophia Kaiser.
Hi, my name is Sophia Kaiser, and I'm 9 years old. I attend Antonia Elementary. I want you to know these are all my words, not my parents'. Thank you for letting me speak at this board meeting. From 8 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon, I have to wear a mask. It's very hard to wear a mask because, we're kids. We run around a lot, and I can't really breathe under a mask. They're very hot. Teachers seem to be very frustrated because they correct us when we're not wearing our mask properly. If I did not wear my mask properly, then they will take my recess. And sometimes I'm told I will be sent to the principal's office. Friday, I am taking a fitness test in gym. I will be doing push-ups, pull-ups, and sit-ups, and so much more with my mask on. Do you think it would be hard to wear masks during all those things? When we had those couple of days without our masks on, everyone seemed so happy. Why do you think they seemed very happy? I could see their smiles. I was hoping that we would not have to wear masks for the rest of the year. The teachers seemed to be very happy to not ask us to put up our masks. I do not think it is fair for you guys to put masks on us for over 8 hours a day. When we are running around, we have recess, lunch, field trips, and more. I think the mask mandate should change. Many of us would be very happy if it would be mask by choice. I think the parents should make the decision to put a mask on their child, not the school board. Please, let us breathe.
Drew Gross.
My name is Drew Gross. I am a freshman attending Seckman High School. I was pleased and excited to start my high school career knowing masks were an option if felt needed by students and staff. When the board changed its policy, I felt both disappointed and disgusted. I roamed my new school soon to realize how non-effective this enforcement was being taken. As long as a mask was on a student's face, said student would be protected against this policy. Last Monday, November 8th, I had made the decision to go a day maskless, feeling I needed a break. I was excluded from school and ended up at home. From Tuesday to Friday, I spent my days maskless in a spare conference room and had no instruction on assignments barely. For these long, boring days, I felt segregated and alone, which no child should ever feel on a school campus. If I posed such a threat to the health of my peers and staff, then how come I ended up with the spare food from the veterans' breakfast earlier, which I was practically breathing upon? Staff were coming in and out of the room, grabbing leftovers and going back to their classrooms, with some remaining within 6 feet of me eating. I have received so much support from my peers and staff who really do care but are too afraid to speak out. These teachers openly support us, which names will be kept anonymous. This policy is taking a toll on the students and staff, dividing this community. I ask you tonight to please stand up and lead this district and change this policy to optional. Unmask the students. We are not asking to take masks away, as we support anyone who wants to wear one. We ask that we get the option to choose what is best for us. Life outside of school for this part is mostly normal until we come to class. This has gone on for too long, and it's time you let the healthy students stay in school. Stop making us wear masks and let us have the decision for ourselves. All of us have a right to be in class, and all of us have a right to not be excluded.
Milton McDaniel.
Thank you, members of the board. I'm coming here tonight to talk to you about freedom, about medical decisions, about my choices. I implore you, effective immediately, allow smoking on campuses and in classrooms. Let me light up. First, as a basic principle, whether or not I choose to smoke is not anyone else's business. Smoking is that parent or teacher's personal choice. Last I checked, this is America and we have freedoms. We don't live in communist China. It's not my problem to determine, or not your problem to determine what's best for me or my family. It's my lungs. My lungs, not yours or anybody else's. Now, I'm not making anyone smoke. If someone doesn't want to smoke, that's fine, that's their decision. I respect their decision, and they should respect mine. But for people who smoke, that's their choice. By not allowing people to smoke in a classroom, you are making a health decision. You are not our doctors. My health choices are my own. In fact, someone may decide that the benefits of smoking outweigh these supposed harms. Oxford University found that smoking has consistently lowered the risk of endometrial cancer. Moreover, there's a large body of evidence that cigarette smoking may prevent Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. I don't know if you've ever seen someone deteriorate from Alzheimer's, but it's terrible. If someone's going to make that decision, it should be between them and their doctor. It has nothing to do with you. Smoking eases stress. In a study by Harvard University, it states nicotine releases dopamine, which results in feelings of euphoria. Euphoria. We have enough stress in our lives today. If I or a teacher want to light up to ease the stress in a classroom, we should be able to, especially if we have to deal with a whole room full of wild kids. I know some people might be worried about this secondhand smoke because the air I breathe out could harm others. You know what the average age is for a diagnosis of lung cancer? 70. Most kids aren't dying from lung cancer. We used to be able to smoke everywhere, and kids weren't dropping dead from lung cancer then. Plus, obesity has reached epidemic proportions. Smoking decreases your appetite. By not allowing smoking in our schools, you could be directly contributing to kids' obesity rates. Maybe if I were to take a trip to Marble Country in a classroom, I'm actually helping these kids. This is my body, and it should be my choice. Or maybe it's not. Maybe, just maybe, we've already determined as a society that my freedoms aren't unlimited. Maybe if we're going to take a look at the data and studies, we should look at the big picture, and not ones that are cherry-picked to fit my own personal agenda. Maybe there's a large body of evidence that most respected groups of medical professionals adhere to. Maybe since we live in a community, we can acknowledge that the argument "it only harms me" isn't logical because it's not just about me. Maybe my medical choices affect others. Maybe we've already determined as a community that it's okay to limit certain freedoms for the greater good. Maybe, just maybe, smoking in classrooms isn't the best idea because the air I breathe out could harm others. And maybe if I have COVID, the air I breathe out could harm others too. Maybe the larger consensus by the medical community is that masks prevent the spread. Maybe my choice to smoke or my choice to wear a mask isn't just my choice. What is my choice is to live in a community and have its luxuries. By agreeing to live in this community, I've also agreed to limit certain choices and certain freedoms because it's what's in the interest of the greater good. Thank you very much.
Carter Littner.
Hello, my name's Carter Littner. I was a former student at RMS Middle School. I now go to St. John's Lutheran. I decided to not wear a mask last week starting Tuesday. The second I did, they told me to go to the nurse's office. Well, I thought I was going to be sitting somewhere on the seats or just waiting for a phone call. No, they put me in a closet and they wouldn't let me out. I wasn't allowed to get in-person instructions from anyone, even if I asked. I wasn't allowed, period. Wednesday, they didn't give me lunch. Families shouldn't even have to worry about what happens with their kids at school. If they should know that their students are getting lunch and having a good day, they should know they're getting their education, etc. With Executive Order 2109, you're breaking the law by extending the mask mandate, as it's only allowed for the healthcare industry as of August 27th, 2021. House Bill 271 says school districts had to vote on their COVID plan every 21 days. If it directly or indirectly, meaning without restriction, this plan expired October 13th, 2021 by law. I have switched schools because of the way the Fox District has treated me, and I, or anyone who agrees with me, does not deserve to be treated this way. Thank you.
Victoria and Ava Talbert.
Hi, I'm Victoria Halbert. This is my daughter, Ava Halbert. She's a student at Antonia Middle School. She would like to talk to you about the COVID mitigation plan that you will be voting on.
I think masks should be optional. When I had an option of not wearing a mask, I could hear and understand my teachers better. I was thankful I could see my friends' faces. When I have to wear a mask, it was sometimes very hot and hard to breathe. I also find myself fidgeting with my mask. Plus, you can't see my beautiful face.
Stacy Risky.
Good evening. I guess you missed having a big crowd here, so we're all back. We need to remember the reason we are here. Margaret Mead said it best when it comes to the importance of education. Children must be taught how to think, not what to think. We are all here for the children. Step back and look at the confusion that we are teaching to them. First, it was mask optional. Then, oh no, right before school, you have to put them back on. Oh, no, they're optional again. You can take them off. Yay, 3 days of freedom. That was short-lived. Now we force them back onto the children. 3 days of freedom. That's all they had. That's all they experienced this year. The families at Fox School District are disappointed, we're exhausted, we're disgusted, and we're tired of the politics that have been involved in masking our children. I come to you with many years of experience in the educational field. I was a teacher, I was a curriculum coach, and I was also an administrator. The question I keep asking myself is this: what is the message that we are sending to our young minds? For the rules to matter to a child, it has to meet the following criteria. Number one, set clear expectations and invite children to express theirs. Number two, provide a strong but flexible routine that is responsible to the ever-changing needs of the group. Encourage collaboration in rule setting, and finally, use positive reinforcement and guidance. Is this what's happening in Fox C-6? The expectations are confusing and have no meaning. You cannot tell a child that the only place you get the virus is at school. That's what you're telling them. Did you provide a strong and flexible routine? No. You told them they must wear a mask no matter what. One size fits all. Did we throw out individual needs? What happened to differentiation? I thought that was the big buzzword in education. Did you encourage collaboration in the rule setting?
30
that
seconds.
would be a huge no. We were not spoken to, no surveys, because you know the answer. Did you use positive reinforcement and guidance? No. We heard what happened. They're in rooms by themselves. History's repeating itself. We need to take notice. This battle is bigger than us and bigger than our schools. So I want to thank you. Thank you for showing us how incompetent you are. Thank you for providing us why we need to band together as parents. And thank you for helping us see the misguided ideas by your fears. And spring is around the corner, and we, the parents, will have the 3 members that will listen to us.
Caden Stites.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Caden Stites. I'm a freshman at Seckman High School. I'm here to talk to you guys tonight about the mask mandate and its effects that it has on the students. First off, we are strapping a piece of fabric to our face, cloth mask, homemade mask, bandanas, etc. for 7+ hours a day. It has been scientifically proven that wearing a mask reduces the amount of oxygen and increases the amount of carbon dioxide that is inhaled during this period of time. This leads to struggles academically, as well as it can cause physical and emotional distress. I have been tired all the time. I have more acne popping up on my skin than I used to. I've had emotional moments where I've started to break down and cry because I felt my face wasn't good enough because of constantly being told I need a face mask. And putting in my brain that my face wasn't pretty to look at made me think I needed to wear a mask to feel pretty. It was almost like I was being brainwashed. Who has ever had a hair stuck in their face mask? I have. Did you know that a microbe is 400 times smaller than the cross-section of a human hair? This includes the COVID-19 microbes as well. If we actually started to follow the science, like some talking heads have said, and not be a political pawn, we would see that face masks have not worked before. Spanish flu, 1918, and they don't work now. If C-6 is going on the recommendation of the Jefferson County Health Department when the county is in orange or red, then how come the Jefferson County districts are not following suit? At the very least, this should be a personal choice. You know, my body, my choice. Let's make the right choice and ditch the mask. Thank you, board members, for letting me have the chance to speak my thoughts.
Bettina Woolsey.
First of all, I'd just like to say, wow, and I don't know how some of you aren't sitting here in tears, because I spoke at the last board meeting, and they are why I spoke. Because I watch them, I see them, I know what's important to them, and I'm sitting back there in tears, listening to what's important to them. So I'm here tonight to talk to you about my own health issues with this face shield versus a cloth mask. We have all watched this back and forth. I want to say that I 100% agree with Mr. McDaniel, who spoke at the last board meeting following myself. I was sharing how amazing it was to witness the excitement and difference the day students were able to freely unmask for the first time inside their schools since March 17th of 2020. Mr. McDaniel highlighted how the facts are not being shared accurately with our C-6 community, whether that's from you guys or the health department. The back and forth of this masking issue now has those who have been in favor of masks even questioning the validity of the numbers and the facts that have been used to supposedly make these decisions along the way. I learned that wearing my face shield at school was no longer acceptable. I complied. Yet, you see, I teach cooking classes. I have to talk and project my voice above running faucets and 33 busy students moving about. They simply cannot hear me. And I have to pull this cloth mask down over and over again to project my voice, which means washing my hands. Obviously, you can hear me better just like this, or putting on a face shield, which blocks what is coming out of my mouth and gets filthy for the day because they're still considered disposable. It goes over my nose, it blocks what I have to say. You can see that it is fogging up. Clearly, you can hear me much better like this than when I had that on my face. I learned that wearing my face shield at school was no longer acceptable. I complied. Yet, you see, I teach cooking classes. Sorry, I'm going back. They simply cannot hear me, and I have to pull this cloth mask down to project my voice, which means washing my hands over and over and over again between touching food items. It's so frustrating. You see, when I wore my face shield, it still catches things. I've now made an appointment with my ENT to request to get a mask exemption to simply wear a face shield, not to say I'm not going to wear a mask. Extra time, extra money out of my pocket, all to get to the doctor to approve wearing a face shield, which Dr. Fauci has been seen wearing numerous times in the public. I learned that Fox High School foreign language teachers still wear these shields. When masking came back in place last week, I was told I could no longer even wear this during my cooking labs. Before that, it was okay, just in the food lab, just while we're cooking. I've complied, but it just strains my voice. It leads me to have to step away, pull it down, project my voice, because my students need to be able to hear me. This is frustrating to say the least. I felt that my own health issues, as well as what procedures were best practice for my classroom, while it's hard to deal with these things that these students are saying and the inconsistencies that are here. I hope that you can hear my voice, and I hope that we can consider making some amendments to this that actually make sense, that we can all follow. Thank you.
Final comment this evening is by Rick Lamborn.
Hello, thank you, everyone. I can take this out if I can. And kind of turn around and just to commend the folks that have spoke tonight. The mental health expert. These people have heard the statistics from me and from you. I don't have the qualifications, but you do. I've explained to you why the statistics from the Jefferson County Board of Health are basically so bogus they don't mean anything. I've also explained that there's a greater chance of a child was dying from the flu. In 2018, there was 5 deaths from the flu. And actually, I think about 4 from the flu. From March 2020 till currently, there's only been 5 COVID deaths in the age group of the school-age children. If you look at statistics, also the better chance of dying in a car accident or suicide is much higher. Your website actually says that our greatest resource is the people in the communities that the Fox District serves. Tonight, I think you have an opportunity to prove that. Because right now, I think everybody that's coming out here to speak, do you feel like you're patronized by this board? You know, you hear us, but you don't hear us. You got to sit there. I really think you've made your mind up already. So I give you an opportunity to prove tonight that you're listening to us and you're going to take our advice and prove that you are standing up for the community. Like your website says, you care about us. Also, just in ending, well, 2 things. This fear-mongering is actually absolutely crazy, and our mental health expert said just what that, how dangerous that is. I would like to offer, if anyone is living in fear of COVID, meet me afterwards. I'd like to chat with you. There is hope for you. You don't have to live in fear. And I invite you, any of you that are living in fear of COVID, to talk to me as well. I heard it said that part of your decision-making is, how would you feel if a child died from COVID? There's a greater chance of a child committing suicide. How would you feel? Thank you.
Thank you. We go on to 3.2, superintendent comments.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thanks, everyone, for being here. I have some things I want to cover, feature some of the accomplishments by our students the last few weeks. So first thing I'd like to mention is our Seckman Jaguar football team. For the first time in the school's history, they competed for a district championship Friday night. They fell just a little bit short, but they did get second place in districts, and thank you. They had a great season and really appreciate all the work the kids put in as well as our coaches. It was a great year. It was fun watching them. Next, we had Seckman High School cross country state qualifiers. Had several students do that. Had Johnny Key, he's a senior. That's his second trip to state, as well as Dylan Glastetter, another senior who's been to state twice. Elizabeth Kundert, a sophomore, and Ariel Laird, a sophomore, who've both been to state twice as well. And then our first trip to state was Jessica Lane, a freshman. So we're really excited the future of our cross-country team with those 2 sophomores and freshmen competing in the future. So give them another hand, please. Next, we have Bella Markham. You've heard about her all year. She keeps setting school records, and she got 9th place at the Girls Cross Country State Championship. Her time was 18:18, and it was another record. So congratulations to her, and she had a great year. Also, we have some band members that need to be recognized. We had 15 high school students at Seckman and 32 high school band students at Fox who were auditioned and were selected for all-district band. And they're not done yet. They're now had the opportunity to audition for all-state band, and we're hoping many of them will get that, and we'll let you know in the future. So congratulations to those band kids who worked so hard as well. I want to recognize this is American Education Week. Just remember about all the hard work all educators do on a daily basis to make a great experience for all our kids in our buildings, and just another thank you for them for what they do for our kids. So I think they deserve a round of applause as well. We've had a lot of questions from our patrons about whether or not we'll be hosting a vaccination clinic for our younger kids, the 5 to 11-year-olds. We are working on a plan to have a clinic in December and January. I want to emphasize, as it says there, parental consent and parent guardian being present is required. We'll have the 2 clinics 3 weeks apart if they're completely voluntary, and we'll have more information on that in the future so our patrons who want to take part in that can participate in the clinic. And last but not least, we have our COVID dashboard. I always talk about this during the board meeting. We currently have 39 positives in the district. We have 116 people excluded and 305 on modified quarantine. And these numbers were pulled this afternoon to be shared with the community. Also, I wanted to mention we have a lot of questions from people about masks and funding tied to that. We do not get any funding based on whether or not our kids are masked. So I just wanted to clarify that with everybody because we've been getting that question a lot, and I wanted to make sure we shared that with our public. So that's it. Thank you.
There are clinics around the community. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what? People all have a choice. If you don't want to participate, don't participate in the clinics. Okay? Everybody needs to, okay. We're moving on.
Yes.
4.1, support staff salaries. We have
You going to put up the document, JP? Do you have access to that?
Okay, we have been working together with Mr. Stewart and with Dr. Brock and trying to move forward on some district salary increases to classified staff. The federal government is mandating some of these moves. And so, Mr. Stewart, would you like to just kind of give us an idea of what's happening in the slides up here?
Sure. First of all, JP, if you'd pull up the attached slide to this agenda item first. This document should look familiar to the board members, although it's less cluttered than the last time you saw it. We have 2 proposals on here, Proposal 3A and 4A, that you should recognize from the workshop 2 weeks ago. So in short, option 3A increases starting rates for all sports staff positions by $1.30 in the first year and by 85 cents in the second year. And option 4A increases starting rates for all positions by $2.15 in the first year, and in the second year it would be a step increase. Now, the reason that we're looking at these changes is due to changes in the minimum wage laws in the state of Missouri. And so the $1.30 and the 85 will keep us in compliance with minimum wage for our lowest starting pays in various categories. After these 2 years, minimum wage will continue to increase. We won't know how much that is, though, until the state issues what CPI is for that year, and they will be increasing annually by CPI. So you see there those 2 options, and the one, option 3A, splits it out over 2 years, and you can see the first year cost is $908,000, and the second year cost is $872,000 for a 2-year increase of $1.8 million. The other proposal, 4A, also over 2 years is $1.8 million, but 1.5 of that is in the first year and $275 in the second. So if you look down at the bottom and you see the cumulative increase, because whatever increase in year 1 happens, of course, carries over into year 2. And so if you look at the cumulative increase in dollars, proposal 3A is $2.7 million compared to $3.3 million for proposal 4B. So just wanted to put this out there for the board's discussion. we would ultimately need to have some kind of revenue source to sustain this long term. So that would definitely have to be part of that discussion.
Okay, so we've heard from the community several times the need for more staff, for bus drivers, for custodians, for cooks, and people are always saying that we're not paying a fair wage. And so this is kind of complying with the federal government and also with how people feel. The people that work in these jobs are our grandmas, our grandpas, our aunts, our uncles, our moms, our dads, our neighbors. And so in working on this, just trying to comply with the federal government and bringing those wages up to standard. We do have a finance committee. We have two on the board that were in that committee. And would you like to say anything about how the committee addressed this?
Okay.
And who's maybe involved in that committee?
Sure. On the committee, we serve with several teachers in the district, parents in the district, and then Michelle and myself serve on the committee. We had a discussion about the proposal because last year we had talked pretty intensely about what we could do to help our classified staff because their salaries were lower, and we were experiencing difficulty last year. And so again, we just had our meeting in October, and we had the discussion about, John brought to us these different proposals, and we discussed which one we thought would be easier for us to adopt and are to consider. So the finance group actually had looked at Proposal 3A and 4A as the two options. We had different discussions about which one we felt would be easier for us as far as the finances go to accept. And the committee actually recommended 3A because we thought that that one would be more palatable for us financially to support in the district. So do you have anything you want to add, Michelle, to that?
I think something that the committee was, I guess, kind of surprised about was that if we go with 3A, that the minimal will have to increase is $907,000. So I guess you don't really think about like $1.30 being that much, but whenever you put it across every single wage, it adds up. So that's why I think they really supported the 3A model versus the 4A.
One of the things I asked was, we have positions open, positions we need to fill. And one of the questions I asked was, what if we raise these salaries and nobody applies still, because we've got the whole problem is nationwide with jobs not being filled. And so Mr. Stewart answered that question with,
so even if it doesn't help us to hire anybody, it should help us with retaining our current employees. And I do want to mention, just for the benefit of those in attendance, these categories of employees listed are our hourly employees. They get paid an hourly wage in all these various different categories. So I just wanted to make that clarification.
Can you clarify that it is for current people who are already hired and not just new hires? Because I've had a few questions about that from the public as well.
That would be the intent, yes.
Yes.
These scales, whenever if the board chooses to put one of these scales in effect, they would go into effect at whatever point in time the board says so, and that happens for
And
existing employees as well as new hires.
And since it's not up there, can you tell us how many steps there are in 3A? Is it, I have it here.
So, JP, if you could switch to that other document, just the first page. So you can see most of the categories have 25 steps. There are a few that have less for various reasons, but most of them have 25 steps.
anybody have any other questions, comments, ideas?
And I'd just like to say, besides being the right thing to do, for our employees. Anybody that drives up and down Jeffco Boulevard or anywhere else sees the wages that other people are offering to entice people to come to work. So just to be competitive in this area, we need to do something to help our hourly employees earn more money so they do stay with us and help serve our kids.
And just a plug for our current openings. So you don't just you don't just receive the hourly wage, depending on the category that somebody is hired in, and the opening is. If you're full-time, you receive the wages, you receive insurance for the employee paid by the district, and there's also a pension plan that the employee puts part in and the district puts part in. So it's more than just the hourly wage. And when we look at it overall, if you take somebody's wages on an annual basis and then you look at the benefits that we add, it's roughly 30% additional. So if somebody's, just for rounded easy numbers, if somebody's making $10,000 in cash in hourly wages, there's another $3,000 roughly, maybe a little more, that is in benefits for that person.
Anyone else?
Ms. Smith, I'd like to make a motion that we accept proposal number 3 as recommended by our Finance Committee for the classified staff, with the understanding that year 3, the increases will be based on the cost of living set by the state.
And
Year 3 and on.
I'm sorry?
Year 3 and on.
Year 3, I'm sorry, yes.
and on. Do you have a time frame for this, Mrs. Yant?
I recommend they start January 1st, as I'm going by information that I think the committee recommended.
Mr. Stewart, would that require a budget adjustment for this year to implement it January 1st?
Absolutely.
I also have a question. Do you want to say something first?
It might be the same thing, so you go first.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Mr. Stewart, you said something about having a discussion of increasing revenue as well along with this.
Correct. The district could sustain increases like this. I mean, you see, it's the first 2 years are the biggest, of course, at roughly $900,000 a year. After that, it would go down a little, but you're still paying those initial increases. So the district could probably sustain that for a couple of years before it starts digging too far into our fund balances, and we have to come up with a plan to fix the fund balances, whether that be a tax increase or whether that be cut other expenditure areas. And I would also ask Ms. Yunt on the if we're going to initiate this January 1, come July 1, that's when we generally award a step for folks. So I would just like some clarification for our HR and payroll department for that.
So this would basically be an 18-month contract, 18-month plan, starting in January, Mrs. Yant, going completely through the next school year?
Is that appropriate, John?
Well, that's for the board to determine whether that's appropriate or not. I just wanted clarification, because if there's going to be an increase January 1, I just want people to be crystal clear whether there's going to be another increase come July 1, or if the January 1 covers 18 months.
Mrs. Young, I would suggest that we keep it for the 18 months.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Vicki.
I would suggest that we keep it. I would suggest that maybe we keep it from starting January 1 and running through the next fiscal year because of the financial situation, so that the following year would, in 22-23, would be when the 85 cents kicked in, the additional amount. Are you understanding
what I understood. That was what I understood from the information we got, that would be.
I just wanted to clarify for the motion, though, that you're saying it's just from July 1 through, there's not another increase in July 1. It runs from January through the whole next fiscal year, correct?
Right.
The first increase, okay.
And John, that would make us compliant in the minimum wage department, correct? If we do it for 18 months?
We would actually, come January 1st of 2023, we would be behind until
The 85.
July 1, when the 85 kicks in.
That's why it's,
Because the state increased the minimum wage effective January 1st. Our fiscal year's July 1 to June 30, so, yeah, so at that point, we would be 6 months behind on that.
that was what I was going to ask, so.
You know, I think the issue that we're dealing with is that we're having a difficult time manning our school district right now. And our first obligation is to make sure that we do what we can to man the positions, especially when you're talking about custodians and cooks and all that. We have to man those positions. And so this is typically something we wouldn't do mid-year, but it's something that I think we have an obligation to move forward on if we want to keep our buildings clean and have our kids fed. And so I second the motion.
I would like, before we all vote, to decide when we want to have that discussion for that extra revenue to sustain it after the 2 years that John is talking about.
April, is there any way that we could set up maybe a board retreat, and then we could have John bring the numbers to us?
I'm all for anything, I just want a plan.
So that we can actually look at it more closely. Now, the Finance Committee has looked at the data, but that was last year. So I'm sure John has more updated data for us to look at.
The request from the Finance Committee was to look at that in December.
Right. So once we have an opportunity to meet and discuss it, and then we could bring information to the board and have maybe possibly a workshop or a board retreat to talk about it, and we'll have a little bit better understanding of what we're dealing with.
That's fine, it sounds like a good plan. The Finance Committee, you said, is meeting in December to discuss it, and then
Yes.
possibly after the first of the year, January, February, we can, okay.
Is it a retreat or workshop? So, like, I want to make sure we get it scheduled
In January?
in January?
Yes, I think so.
Just a workshop?
Right. I
Okay,
think a workshop would be fine.
okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay. We will move on to 5.1 mitigation, COVID mitigation plan. Dr. Forgo, do you have a recommendation that you would like to present?
Yes, I have a little bit of discussion first, but then I'll make a recommendation. We've reflected a lot upon how this school year has gone with our current mitigation plan and the monitoring of Jefferson County data and the colors. And at that time, when we started, we all thought that was a good approach. But as you start operationalizing it, you see what it does to the buildings when you have to go back and forth and adjust a plan weekly. It's very tough on our students. It's very tough on our teachers. It's very tough on principals and all our other staff. So taking all that into consideration, I'd like to recommend that we use internal data moving forward. We would say Fox C-6 would highly recommend masks be worn inside all of our buildings. However, in the event that a 2% positivity rate is present for the entire population, that's students and staff, in a specific school building, Fox C-6 will require students, staff members, and visitors to wear a mask while inside that building or when attending an indoor event or activity in that building. The mask requirement will be in place for a minimum of 14 calendar days and will remain in effect until the building drops below 2% positivity. And so that's what I'm going to be recommending to you guys tonight. I want to make sure people understand that if it gets to 2% positivity, we'll be sending a message to that building that everyone's going to be required to wear masks. Also, on our COVID dashboard, we'll be updating that so we have the total population of students and staff in each building, so it's very clear to everyone what 2% would represent. And so, President Smith, that is my recommendation for the board to consider.
Okay, so
Dr. Frigo,
in discussing this, I'm just going to ask that if everybody would like to say whatever they would like to say, then we're going to vote, and I'm just going to ask that everybody please support what Dr. Frigo is bringing to us. Last year we did never have to vote, but right now, because of the law we think we're living under, as far as the judge is concerned, they're still deciding that. I would like to support this plan, and if anybody would like to say anything, but I am asking that everybody support this decision that's being made. Ms. Hanson.
I just wanted a point of clarification, and I don't want to make any assumptions here, but I would, the modified quarantine portion would still apply, and that
yes,
would need to be stated in the motion as well.
Yes.
Is that correct?
The only thing we'd be amending is that we would no longer use orange or red. And
we still need to state the quarantine in the motion, correct? Because
we don't address that in the motion. And then what I'm recommending, you guys can do what you want, but what I'm recommending is we just address the internal data. And I'm asking that the board make this new plan in effect on Thursday the 18th so we can communicate with everybody tomorrow, because we're already at 8 o'clock and I learned my lesson last time on a late notice. So I just want to ask that you do that as well.
So you're saying that it still all applies, this is just the change?
Just the only change, we're replacing the red-orange language with this language on building data, the 2% positivity rate.
Would anybody else like to say anything?
I'm going to support your decision, Dr. Frigo, for a couple of reasons. Since this has been ongoing now for about a year, there's a lot of changes that have been made and made our community more able to get shots if they want. And I think many of us have. I think many of our high school students have also taken advantage of that. I think our parents have more choices now about how to protect their children. And I've always been a mask mandate person, you know that. I don't know if that was right or wrong. How do we really know? Time has not told us that yet. But I believe that the time has come that we don't keep flip-flopping our kids and flip-flopping our parents and flip-flopping our staff. That's very difficult. So I'm going to support your decision.
Would anybody else like to say anything? Anybody have any questions?
I will second what Carol said, and I would also like to speak to the kids that spoke tonight. Your voices are so important, and I heard every single word that you said, and please continue to speak up and have that voice, whether you speak to your teachers, your counselors, your administrators. Please share with them how you're feeling and how it is being a student in our schools. That means everything to us. I will support you too.
Okay, I'm going to move that the Board of Education revise the COVID mitigation measures for the 2021-22 school year as proposed by the district's administration to include the following revisions. Fox C-6 highly recommends masks be worn inside all of our buildings. In the event that a 2% positivity rate is present for the entire population in a specific building, including students and staff, Fox C-6 will require students, staff members, and visitors to wear a mask while inside that particular Fox C-6 building or when attending an indoor event or activity in that building. Such mask requirements for a particular building will remain in place for a minimum of 14 calendar days and will continue to remain in effect after 14 calendar days until the building drops below a 2% positivity rate. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, do we have any discussion?
Oh, that's what we were doing before. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, all right. Just, How do we arrive at the 2% number? Yeah.
We looked at the modified quarantine of 4%, which is when that goes away, and we went to the halfway mark of 2% for the building and we looked at what that total number would be as well in a building, and we thought that was a reasonable number to go back to masking in those buildings.
As Carol mentioned, things have changed considerably. Now students, everybody in the school can get immunized if they feel like they need to do that. And so the issue is that once we go above that 2%, then we would have to go back to mask. So we're not ignoring the fact that we still have a pandemic that we're dealing with.
And it allows us to respond on a more granular level at the building rather than trying to make a rule for the whole district and flip-flopping back and forth, as Carol said.
Now, because it's a federal mandate, we still have to wear them on the school bus.
Yes,
correct?
nothing has changed on buses, thank you.
Do you know what? Has anyone said anything, or federal government, have they?
We keep our superintendent, administrator advocacy groups have been seeking clarification, but there's been no movement on that at all.
Okay, all in
Oh,
favor?
I have one more thing
Oh,
to say.
sorry.
I'm so sorry. You know, we all want a choice to wear a mask, but it's a parent's choice to vaccinate their kid as well. So I think that, you know, we're booing it and we're huffing and puffing about it, but we need to be better examples because we want this choice so they can have that choice as well. So let them do them and you do you, and then we can all get along.
I just have one other question about the vaccination clinics. Who would be conducting those clinics?
Well, we're talking to Pharmex right now. They did our clinic last time. I talked to the health department, and they were not non-committal about the availability. So I talked to Northwest and Festus, and they use Pharmex, and we're going to try to nail down some dates here in the first available dates in December, and then again in January for our 5 to 11-year-olds.
And the school receives zero money for a vaccine clinic, correct?
Yes, the clinic takes care of it. All we have to do is staff it to help people check in and give them their COVID vaccine card. And
it's just a convenience for patrons
I was
in the
just
community to
clarifying that
choose
for
to.
people.
it's a service to the community for those who want to
Choose.
access that for their
Yep.
children.
Okay.
Judy,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I just have one more comment. And I ask you, as a parent, please ask your children not to make fun of or ridicule a child who has a mask on, and vice versa. It's not fair to them. They're doing what their teachers and their parents have told them. And if they want to wear a mask because mom said wear a mask, then we should respect that child as well as your child who does not wear a mask. So if we could just all kind of reiterate that to our children, we're all there, we all want the same thing, and I would appreciate that.
A little kindness. Okay.
Judy, when will this go into effect now, exactly?
Well, I haven't.
There's a
that's
second motion.
That's a second motion.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion number 2. Motion number 2, I move that the Board of Education adopt the revised COVID mitigation measures for the 2021-22 school year as proposed by the district administration and as revised by prior motion of the Board of Education to be implemented by the district's administration starting Thursday, November 18th, giving time for notification to be made and adjustments to be made.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, plan passes. Okay, 5.2, out-of-town professional development opportunity. Kim Loomis, Director of Federal Programs. Dr. Gilman.
Yes, we are requesting approval for Kim Loomis, Director of Federal Programs, to attend the National ESEA Conference in New Orleans from February 16th to February 19th. The cost of district travel, lodging, and meals is $2,069. This will come out of Title II PD funds. Upon returning from the conference, federal grant regulations, changes, and current issues and topics will be shared across the district. And I think you guys have a copy of some of the workshops that she's planning on attending, including workshops on poverty, homelessness, and ESL students.
Thank you, Dr. Gilman. I need a motion to approve her professional development travel for Kim Loomis, Director of Federal Programs.
Motion, Chamberlain?
Second, Hanson.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? I'm sorry.
What?
Okay, moving on to 5.3, early notice stipend. Dr. Brocht.
So over the last 5 or 6 years, the number of students entering teacher preparation programs at the university level has gone down by about 29% in the state of Missouri, and that's a problem across the nation. But it's resulting in a severe teacher shortage, and so that means that we also have a much smaller pool of candidates to choose from. And it's, the same pool that all of our neighboring districts also have to choose from. And so to help us get ahead of that and to have the largest pool possible when we're going to hire our teachers and administrators, we're requesting that the board approve an early notice stipend. And this would be for teaching staff or anybody paid on the teacher salary schedule and administrators of $500 if they notify us prior to winter break, so prior to December 18th, that they're planning to retire or resign at the end of this school year. And then $300, so a reduced stipend if they notify us between December 19th and January 17th. So first semester ends Friday the 14th. The start of second semester is the 18th of January. So we're requesting that the board approve that stipend. And I just want to note that with that teacher shortage, we need to encourage people to notify us if they're leaving early, but our intent is certainly not to encourage anybody to leave. With the teacher shortage, we need to keep everybody that we can. But if people are planning to leave anyway, the sooner they tell us, the better.
Any discussion? April, I think you had something you were thinking about? No?
Well, it is regarding the policy later.
Okay. Okay. Anybody have then we change the okay. All right. Michelle, did you have something you wanted to say?
I was just going to echo what Dr. Brock said, that we're not trying to encourage anybody to leave at all. It's just making us aware because we do need teachers to stay in the field, especially I was at one of the sessions that I went to whenever we were in Kansas City for the MSBA conference. They said that 50% of teachers in Missouri today have 10 years and less experience. So we're not trying to encourage anybody, but if you are going to retire, to let us know soon.
Well, and we do have a lot of student teachers in our buildings right now, and if we know that teachers are going to be leaving, then principals can be watching very specifically these brand new people about to graduate with their teaching certificates, and those people could be stepping right into some jobs. And they're people that principals already know, can they teach, can't they teach? And so it would be good that we would know how many we needed, and those people could feel like they would have a secure chance of getting a job. We have a lot of students that graduate from this district, go off to be teachers, and come back and want to teach here. That's what's made us a strong district. And so anybody have any other questions?
On an average, about how many teachers do you have retire a year?
Retirement alone, I'm not sure, but we usually hire maybe 40 to 50 people a year. This year it was a little bit higher than that.
So this includes retiring and just people leaving the
Right.
district as well?
Right.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm ready to make a motion that, to approve the early notice stipend.
Okay, need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed?
I oppose.
Okay. Okay, 5.4, Grads Give Incorporated. Dr. Frigo, this is exciting.
Yes, this is an opportunity for alumni to work with our high schools to donate money through an alumni group that will facilitate it called Grads Give. It's no cost to the district, and real excited about the opportunity. It's a 2-year agreement, so we can see how it works. We're the second district in the state, if the board approves, we'll be the second district in the state of Missouri to approve this, and we'll have beaten Springfield to the punch, which would be a good thing. But it's very prevalent in the state of Texas, South Carolina, Florida, et cetera, and they're now moving into the Midwest, and I think it's a great opportunity for high schools to fund specific initiatives they have.
And so this doesn't cost us any money.
No, ma'am.
And, let's see, what was my other question? I was going to ask another one. So this actually works kind of like the teacher fund me things. When
Almost like a GoFundMe type
When teachers
account.
put projects out and ask their families in their classroom to help fund something. So this company makes money by the patrons who pledge money. They give a tip to this company.
If they choose to give a tip, the company gets the
And that's
tip.
how they make their money.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Yes, how will people know, parents know, and our former grads know how to donate? Will it be on their website?
There's a
How will they do
website where
it?
it says donate, and then it'll walk them through that, but also, they're gonna work with our principals. You get yearbooks and so on, and contact our alums for us and say, hey, you have this opportunity to help out your high school. So there'll be a variety of ways we'll do some outreach. But once you approve this, we have to meet with our principals and find out what they want to fund. Like the one high school we looked at, had athletics, dance, speech and drama, and the band were the things that high school looked at. So it's tailored to each high school's needs. And the principals were very excited about it when we met. We met with them.
We need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay. We are at 5.4, contract with automatic controls equipment system. Mr. Stewart.
So at the July 20th board meeting, the board approved the bid from Automatic Controls Equipment Systems Incorporated for the HVAC controls at Merrimack Heights Elementary. So attached is the contract and an addendum that govern the performance of this work for $89,162, and it's presented for the board's approval and signature. This has been reviewed and blessed by the attorney.
Any questions?
John, just to clarify how this works, because we had some questions from the board.
Certainly.
We get a bid, the board approves the bid, but then when we have to get the contract back, the board has to approve the contract as well.
Correct. So, according to Missouri state law, a contract for a school district is not valid unless it is approved by the board and signed by the board president, or frankly, the board can delegate it to someone else. But the board has to vote on the contract too. So it's going to be a pretty rare instance that you're approving the bid and you have the contract to approve at the same time.
So we've got a couple of these tonight.
Yes.
Okay, so we're just reapproving what we approved before.
You're approving the official contract
Okay.
To get the work underway.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion.
Second, Hanson.
Any questions? All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that carries. 5.6, contract with SM Wilson. Motion to approve the contract with SM Wilson for the additions and renovations at Antonia Elementary and Merrimack Heights Elementary. Mr. Stewart.
Yes, so again, this was approved, the bid from SM Wilson was approved at the July 20th meeting. We've been in contract negotiations with them since that time. There has been, as you're aware, a little bit of inflation going on, and so there is an allowance, a special allowance in the contract that's specifically to cover market conditions due to the pandemic and the supply chain issues and all that. So that is included and is additional in this contract. So this is submitted for the board's approval, and again, reviewed by the attorneys.
Okay, we need a
I
motion.
make a motion.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed? Okay, that passes. 5.7, contract with playground equipment professionals. Motion to approve the contract with playground equipment professionals for the installation of a new playground at Guffey Elementary School. Mr. Stewart.
Okay, so at the October 5th meeting, the board approved the bid from Playground Equipment Professionals for the new playground at Guffey. This is the contract that's going to govern that work, and just as a reminder, it was $120,000, of which a large portion of that came from a donation that the district or that building received. And so again, this one hasn't just been reviewed by the attorneys, but actually prepared by our attorneys. So it's submitted for your approval.
We need a motion.
So move.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that passes. 5.8, change order approval for ICS. We need a motion to approve change orders 1, 2, and 3 from ICS for Fox Elementary and Seckman High School as presented. Mr. Stewart.
So you have in front of you 3 change orders from ICS for the work that occurred this summer at Fox Elementary and Seckman High School. We had, if you remember, we had Ittner was the architect on the project and ICS was the contractor. So these 3 change orders, we had an allowance in the contract, and ultimately these end up cumulatively exceeding that allowance by just under $60,000. And so it is submitted for your approval, these 3 change orders. And also, just to refresh your memories, again, part of the supply chain issue was we could not get those roof units down at Seckman High School in until, I mean, literally right before school started, and we had subcontractors working weekends and nights and all sorts of overtime to get those in as quickly as we could and get the building cooled in August.
Okay, we need a motion.
So move.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay. 5.9, change order approval for SM Wilson. Motion to approve change order number 1 from SM Wilson for Antonia Elementary and Merrimack Heights Elementary as presented. Mr. Stewart.
Okay, so yes, this is a change order for the contract that you just approved with SM Wilson. So of that $200,000 allowance, so within a couple weeks of the board approving the bid from SM Wilson, the steel industry increased prices tremendously.
Yeah.
And SM Wilson was notified that the cost of our steel initially was going up $225,000. They were able to negotiate that down to $190,000, and so they would like the district to participate at the level of $50,000 out of that 200 allowance. SM Wilson is going to absorb the other $140,000 of that steel increase. So this change order would just allow that to happen.
We need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay.
Judy, I wanted to ask a question. We're spending a lot of money, approving a lot of expenses right here. Are we still staying within budget on our projects?
Yes.
Thank you.
And yeah, as a refresher, all these are Prop P projects.
Yes.
5.10, bid approval for VoIP services. Motion to approve the proposal from Worldwide Technologies for $350,563.89 as presented. Mr. Stewart.
So we published a request for proposals for Cisco Unified Communications Voice over IP that will replace existing end-of-life equipment and other support services. So this allows Fox C-6 school district to continue our voice over IP phone services in all classrooms and district locations. The annual cost, there's two different parts of the total here, but there's an annual cost that is budgeted in the operating budget for the technology department, and the equipment cost is covered in the capital budget project. So it's recommended to approve the bid from Worldwide Technologies.
Could you explain why we have one bid? Because I did ask the question, I just want to make sure that.
Sure. I would ask Mr. Luke Hyder to come up. He can
Sorry,
talk to
Luke.
that. He can speak to that a little better than my limited technology.
Yeah, so we see this sometimes when we specified Cisco systems. Our infrastructure here at the district is Cisco systems, whether that's networking and other switching components. All of our phones are currently Cisco. And so for us to move away or gravitate away from Cisco as a manufacturer, we'd also have to replace all of our phones or pay a large service fee to migrate from the Cisco specific protocol over to a different protocol, which is a very, we have 1,000 phones, and so that cost is very large. So given that information, we were going to stay with a singular manufacturer. Manufacturers often, especially in the tech world, will often provide specialized pricing to whatever vendor of they choose. And it is very well known to some of the other vendors that they didn't get it and they don't want to take a large enough hit because they believe they can't be competitive. So we reached out on top of just the bid to many of the vendors that we felt would participate. They decided not to participate, but that is why.
Thank you.
So do we have a motion, a second? Okay, we need a motion.
Motion. Motion to approve.
Second?
Any other questions? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay. 6.1, financial report. Mr. Stewart.
Okay, so you have, let's see, yeah, you've got the graph there. And the good news is we continue to trend very well. At the end of October, our operating fund balances were just under $15 million. That's about $9.4 million higher than a year ago today. And also, I just want to remind you, our fund balances at June 30, so our year-end fund balances were $15.3 million. So at the end of October, before we've started receiving tax money, tax revenue from the local taxes, our fund balances are only down roughly $300,000 from our year end. So that is fantastic news. Part of the reason for that is we have, so the state of Missouri, and I was at a conference the last 2 days, and Dr. Monses, who's the finance guru for DESE, the state of Missouri is, their Prop C, their sales tax revenue, is up 18 to 20% over last year, and last year was up over a normal year. So it's really increased significantly. So year to date, we're up over $800,000 over where we were last year with Prop C revenue. We've also, because we had CKC and building blocks, very limited or none at all last year, we're up $300,000 there. And also we had some local revenue. That's the Project Lead the Way grant, and that's about $290,000. So, and then our formula money, and this is just year over year. So if you remember at the beginning of July 2020, DESE told us, hey, we're withholding roughly $3 million from you. So they started releasing that over time last year. And so at this point, we're about $2 million or so ahead on formula money than we were last year. Now, by the end of this year, that difference should be roughly zero because we're about the same. But right now, that's a difference, and it's going to continue to make a difference for the next few months. And then also, we've done fewer transfers. We've had less need for transfer to the capital projects fund until the tax money comes in, starting actually this month, a little bit of it. And then we ended up, our fund balances were higher at the end of this last year than they were the previous year, and so those just kind of continue through and help improve our position.
John, how does the balance in the capital projects fund look right now?
I'm sorry?
How does the balance in the capital projects fund?
So as of October 31st, the capital projects fund, and this is not including the bond proceeds because that's a sub-fund of capital projects, but we operate it separately. So we're at, the fund balance is actually zero right now because we're transferring $2.5 million because, again, we haven't received any or very little local tax revenue into the capital projects fund at this point.
So we haven't even started spending what we're going to be getting, or we've started spending it, we just don't have it yet?
We've started spending because we had a fund balance at the beginning of the year of, at the beginning of the year of about $2.5 million. So basically, we've spent down $2.5 million and a little more.
So
and
we were
we're
ahead of
covering
the
that
game.
with the operating, and it'll get paid back. And we'll do we'll do a final transfer officially at the end of the fiscal year.
Everybody good? All right. 7.1, payment of bills, Group A. We need a motion to approve those bills as presented. Mr. Stewart, do you want to say anything?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. We need a motion to approve Group A bills as presented.
I make a motion.
I'll second it, Chamberlain.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed?
Judy, I need to abstain because of Jefferson College payment.
Okay. And 7.2, budget adjustments for 2021-22. Motion to approve these adjustments as presented. Mr. Stewart?
Yes, so you have in front of you the second budget adjustment for this fiscal year. The document you have there's a summary that shows you the effect, that shows you the previously approved budget, this proposed budget total for the amendment, and then the effect on the fund balances. The majority of the adjustments in this budget amendment are due to federal fund updates as well as a little bit of professional development reallocations. And so overall, the revenues and the expenditures are going up the same amount, and that's because they're federal funds for the most part. And so there's no real change to the fund balance due to this budget increase. There is a little bit of a reallocation of some benefits and salaries from Fund 2 to Fund 1. And again, that's part of a correction related to federal funding and professional development. Now, while this budget adjustment while the increase in revenues and expenditures are the same and it doesn't change the fund balance, we're still working through the audit. And so we've had some adjustments that actually changed the beginning fund balance for this year for the operating funds. And so you'll see that our operating fund balance with this budget adjustment goes up to 14.34%. It was at 14.23 at the last budget amendment a month ago, I believe. So I would ask your approval of the budget adjustments.
And every penny counts.
Yes, it does.
I make a motion.
A second.
Hanson?
Oh, she can second it. Hanson seconded it.
I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay. 7.3, donations. Dr. Frigo.
Yes, just like last month, and I think they'll continue. Midwest Regional Bank has continued to provide wonderful donations to our schools.
Wow.
You see them listed there, and then you see what they go for, everything from music supplies, aquariums, whiteboard, all kinds of different things to help out our buildings and their kids. So what a great partner Midwest Regional Bank is, providing this monies for our kids
It's unbelievable.
in the buildings.
It's great. We need a motion to approve those donations.
I make a motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay. 8.1, first reading of policies. Motion to approve the attached policies for a first reading. Dr. Bracht.
We are requesting that the board accept the attached policies for a first reading. 4 of the policies are presented with MSBA recommendations. 1 is revised to better align with district practice, and 2 are revised to adjust our policies in a way that benefits our year-round employees.
We need a motion.
I do have, well, you want to do your motion first or discussion?
We can, either way, we can do discussion first.
I was curious on the GCBA policy where the certified staff can sell back their personal days. If we want to maybe add language that says they have to give us notice of their separation, retirement, or I guess retirement by January 1st of that year, so it prevents us from giving out these stipends to know early, and then they would be eligible to have these days bought back. It's just an idea. I'd just like your thoughts on that.
Just let me understand what you're saying.
Please.
So you're saying to take advantage of the vacation days and leave day payout at the end, when they leave us, they have to notify us by January 1st that they're leaving.
Yes.
Otherwise, that part of the policy wouldn't kick in.
Correct.
Okay.
And their separation would be effective at the end of the school year,
yes.
Correct? So it wouldn't apply to somebody who tells us that they're leaving July 15th.
Correct.
And then my other question is, so the 2 policies, it would apply to both the GCBDA and the GDBDA?
Well, I was just thinking the GCBA, since they are salary, the other ones are hourly employees, correct?
The others are hourly employees.
And so they don't sign a contract to work a full year, or do they?
They don't receive
No.
a contract, no, they get a letter of intent.
I see.
And if they're on annualized pay, like if they divide their pay over the 12 months, then their salary that they get paid is based on that we expect them to stay a full year.
Well, I'm just trying to,
So are you really talking about certified staff?
I
the
am.
policy for just certified staff?
Yes.
So, okay, so this, so that would apply only for the personal day part of it too, not the vacation days. The vacation days really only affect like 12-month administrators, principals, and things like that.
But, yes.
So just the personal days.
No, I was thinking the vacation days as well, because then you can have notice that principal is leaving, and you can look for someone early, like, we're trying to do now, and they can help train too if they stay. So it's just a thought. I would like your thoughts on it, discussion.
April, are you meaning it wouldn't just be personal days, because the currently certified staff also get to any sick days that they.
Well, those are rolled in anyway.
Yeah, but I meant,
it's
are you
only
meaning both things?
only the personal days.
Let me be clear what you're talking about. So you're saying that they, in order to get those,
To be eligible
to
pay.
sell their,
Yes.
they'd have to
Let us know they're leaving.
disclose that they're leaving
Yeah.
before January?
So we can have, because we are wanting to know early when people
That would
are
alleviate
leaving.
the stipend.
Right, that would alleviate a stipend, and we can make it in effect, since we've already approved that, if you wanted to make it in effect for next year, it's just the first reading.
Well, I understand, but they've earned those days.
No, they don't get, if you retire, you don't get paid for your personal days.
Is it just sick days that you get?
We're talking about just classified, right?
No, certified. She's
Certified.
talking about certified.
I mean certified.
And they
Certified.
So
to-
personal days
But the
turn
principals
into,
are in there, so there are vacation days for the principals,
okay,
and those
The
that work 12
policy
months.
says personal days would be reimbursed too. That's what it
Okay,
says.
so,
but they turn into sick days.
so we're using that as leverage
To
to
find
make
out.
teachers, and if they If they decide to retire after that time, then,
Use it or lose it.
okay, well, I have a problem with that. Because there are times when people can't decide in January. There's other family issues that come up and things like that. They're entitled to that, and I think
But
it's
they
bad.
don't get paid for those personal days, right? Whatever.
Yes, they do.
Currently, they don't get paid for the personal days, but
the new
if they're
policy says-
separating, so if they're coming back next year, if they're a teacher and they're coming back next year, their personal days just get rolled into sick leave for the next year. It just gets added to their bank. If they're not coming back, they get paid for the sick days, but they don't get paid for the 4 personal days currently if they're separating. And so this would change that.
This policy is
Teachers have,
proposing
some teachers last year thought when they decided to retire that they could sell back their personal days, and that's not the case. And so
Vacation
it was,
days. But this is,
no, this is teachers.
this is proposing that that be changed so personal days can be sold back along with sick days, correct?
Only upon separation, yes.
When you retire, yes.
But to put a stipulation of January 1st, I went through the retirement system, and it's a hard decision for teachers to make. And then also, when you make that decision, you have to, there's some hoops you have to jump through. And I don't think we should tie their decision on whether they get paid for these personal days, because it's, I mean, they've earned those days. And teachers, when they retire, they don't take it lightly. It's a hard decision to make. And it does, I mean, I thought about it up until May, because I couldn't decide if I wanted to leave the classroom. And I don't want anyone to feel like they're forced.
So right now, the way it's changing is they could sell those back. And you're
Right.
just wanting to change it to, they can only sell those 4 days back if they let us know.
Right, we don't, yeah, because so we can get something out of it as a district to help us for the future.
So, just a couple of other points. One is that, I won't say a lot of people, but I have heard from people who, once they realize that they can't sell back their personal days, they're like, well, I'm just gonna take them all.
Yeah.
And so if everybody gets 4 days, that's more absences that we have and more days that we need
And we
subs
pay for it either way. Either we pay them or we pay a sub.
Right, and then to the point of, it might actually help with early notice, like if they give us the early notice, but I don't know that it's the same as giving a stipend for the early notice, because our days for certified staff currently can be sold back at $70 a day, so it's not based on like what your salary is, what your daily rate is. It's a set rate of $70 a day, so if they have all 4 personal days, that would come to $280. Whereas the stipend that we approved was more than that.
So as the policy is written now, they don't get paid for those personal days when they retire anyway.
Correct.
Okay.
But
So
the
what
new-
you're saying is that rather than do the special incentive that we're doing now, we would build this in as part of the incentive, and they would get paid for that if they disclose that they're going to retire before January 1st.
Yeah, it's just an idea.
Okay,
Just-
that's not a bad idea.
Okay, so the way it reads at this moment, we're making it so that they can sell those back. Okay, Carol.
Okay, I know in the past there's been situations where teachers did not take personal days because they were discouraged from using those for various reasons, subs not being available or putting a hardship on their fellow teachers. And in my mind, our teachers should be encouraged to take their personal days, especially now with everything that's happening in our district. They need that time away from their classrooms. And so my fear is if we say we're going to pay those, that some teachers will maybe make it more difficult for themselves to save those days. I just think they should be encouraged to take them because that is their time and they need that time away from the classrooms. Now, whether you choose to pay them if they don't take it or pay them if they give a notice, I guess that's a different story, but I just feel like they need to be encouraged to take their time.
It is just their last, I mean, I don't want to say just, that sounds insensitive and that's not how it should, but it is their last year of teaching. It's not like it's all of the teachers that aren't encouraged to take their personal days. We're just talking about the teachers that are separating with their retirement.
And teachers do choose to take time or not take time.
Right.
And last year, there were people that decided to retire and then all of a sudden realized, I'm going to lose these days if I don't take them. And they were torn between wanting to be in their classroom, knowing their kids needed them, and taking those days. But they also realized, I'm going to lose them if I, and so they were taking them the last couple of weeks of school, and it was very difficult. It was difficult for the kids. It was and so, you know, if they knew that either they were going to get paid for them if they stayed in class or if the incentive was there. So, and the other part of this was that some people were, their vacation time, they were not accruing time when they moved to a new job. And so this way, it's allowing them to accrue years of service into their vacation days, and that'll solve that problem for those people.
But no, you're talking about two different
things, right?
Okay, because if we're
Yeah.
going to talk about classified staff leaves, I would like to table that for another time. I think there's a lot in this information that came to us, a lot of changes, and we're looking at it. I'm not really sure if I understand exactly what's happening with it, and I don't think it's clear enough to even make decisions. It seems that there's a lot of changes in here that's going to affect a lot of people, not just a specific group.
Well, if this is a first reading.
Now, I'm talking about GDVDA. I'm talking about the support staff, since you brought that up.
If we have questions, since this is a first reading, should we, I know typically, Dr. Virgo, we direct those questions to you, but should we direct them directly to Kelly and you if we have questions on these policies before a second reading to you?
To me, it would be great, and then I can get them to
Okay.
Kelly after I have a chance to look
make
at
sure
it.
that we're all understanding.
Can I ask a question on GCBDA? Under the personal leave section, there's, staff members, certified staff get 4 days leaves, and it gives you A through I on what, I guess, is a reason that you can take personal leave. And I've always felt that, going back to what Carol was saying, with you get 4 days, and I think you should be able to take it whenever you have time. So I'm thinking of like around a Christmas holiday or spring break. Sometimes you can't just have a vacation from Sunday through Saturday, and you might have to leave. And this says that you can't take a sick day. That really kind of butts up to a holiday, and I always thought that was something that districts shouldn't have, because
The issue, they can't get subs if too many people do that. It's
I know,
a
but
problem.
if somebody has an opportunity to go to another country, let's say halfway around the world, and they can't do that in a week. Maybe it
Isn't
takes
that per
longer.
the principal's discretion? Does it say that
It
in
does.
there?
It does say that. But
approval?
I've heard from people that they can't take
do it.
personal.
Most people,
That butts up to a holiday.
a lot of times people don't really ask. If it's personal leave, they just say, you don't need to tell me the
I
details.
hope that's a practice in
Okay,
this
I'm going to
district.
make this in form of a motion. I'd like to once again table GDVDA until after the first of the year.
I'll second that.
GD, which one is it?
It's the certified staff, classified staff.
Classified.
It's support staff leave, correct, Carol, is what you're talking about? Okay. And Jim seconded it.
I know, we're all talking about different ones. Okay. GDBDA, you said. I got it.
You got it? title support staff leaves.
I would assume there's no urgency on getting this. If Carol has got apprehensions about that, if there's no urgency on getting this passed right now, tabling it, I don't think is,
Well, we have some staff that are very upset that it got postponed last time, because when they moved from one position to another position in the district,
this is, okay, I got you.
they didn't let them accrue the vacation they had for the years of service they had, that they didn't accrue that amount. So we've got people that are being, what do you call it, Kelly?
So
basically, their years of service are kind of starting over for
they
the
work for
purpose
15
of
years in a
accruing
building,
vacation.
Jim?
Right.
And then they
I'm
come-
familiar with that, and I agree that they should get credit for that time. If
Okay.
they're making a lateral move, but in the same position, I agree with that. But if Carol wants a little more time to work through this, then unless we have to act on that right away.
Can we use it through the first reading and let questions be answered between now? And if it doesn't, then we don't have to have the second reading, correct?
You don't have to have a second reading, or you can not approve that policy the next time.
You can pull it out the next time if your questions don't get answered between now and the second reading.
To me, this is going to create a situation where it's going to boomerang with our staff. So you're taking, and just for instance, you take a building secretary who works 225 days. She's not entitled to vacation, am I right? Because she's not, she's
prorated.
not
That's
entitled
correct.
to vacation,
If-
am I right?
Yeah, if she's not 260 days, she's not earning vacation.
Okay.
That's
So
correct.
you move her into a 260-day position, then she's entitled to vacation. So if you go back and count years of service from 225 days, if she was in that position for 10 years, then how many is that going to affect? Because you got to do it for everybody. And if she wasn't a 260-day employee, how can you give her vacation from previous years?
Well, you're not giving her
You're
vacation.
You're giving her
It's
years
where-
of service.
You're giving
which
her
would-
years of service and where that would, how much vacation they had earned would apply, rather than, like, it's your first year with the district, it's your 10th year with the district, so you get whatever a 10-year employee gets.
Right, and
Rather
you're-
than a first-year employee.
and you're
It's
not-
kind of a slap in the face for somebody that's been with us 10 to 15 years, and we say, now we're going to treat you like a first-year employee.
And you're not going back and awarding them what they would have gotten
No.
for that whole period.
That's-
You're only awarding them from that point forward,
Forward.
what they would get.
It's not-
So it's not like retroactive as far as I would have gotten or they would have gotten 10 vacation days a year for 10 years. We're not going back and giving them any of those days. It's just moving forward. So they might qualify for 15 vacation days in their first year as the 260 person instead of 10 days, based on that years of service.
Yeah, they're not being awarded vacation days.
No.
All they're doing is they're being given credit
Credit for
all the
service.
work they've done up to that point in time relative to how many vacation days they get in the new position.
Mhm.
So in other words, if you get 15, let's say you get 15 vacation days after 10 years or whatever it is.
8 to 14, you get
Yeah,
15
okay.
days.
So if you work as a secretary, as a 10-month secretary for
10 years.
15 years, and then you move to the central office, it's like all that work, all your dedication to us for that time doesn't count even toward how many vacation days you're going to be awarded in this new
You go
position.
back to year one.
You go back to 0.
Yeah, you go back to 0.
So would they, if the 15 years, would they then carry that 15 years over and then they would be awarded what
They'd be
the,
placed on the grid where they apply, where they get 22 days rather than
Okay.
10.
Uh-huh.
For a brand-new employee comes into the same position, they get 10.
Mhm.
You've been with us 15 years, you come into the same position, you get 10 as well, right now.
All right.
What we're asking is that they get credit for their service to the district
Okay.
when we place them on that grid.
all right.
Does that
makes
help?
That makes sense. yes.
Okay.
So I withdraw my second on that. Are you more comfortable with it now?
I'll withdraw my motion. I'm not completely comfortable, but I will talk with Kelly
Yeah,
and
Carol,
Dr.
yeah,
Forgo about
talk
it
with
at a
Kelly,
different
and
time.
we just, if there's still an issue with a second reading, we'll,
This is a perfect example why you have a first reading and then a second reading, so this type of thing can happen. We can have
Well, I know there are
proposals.
times when people have come into central office where they've been automatically given 22 days of vacation without having served any time in the district.
Well, that wouldn't be a good thing.
And
I'm
so
sorry that happened.
I just want to be sure that we're being fair to each of our employees and that we're not bringing people in from a building that maybe has worked 7 years or whatever, and then people who have been at central office have been working 260 days, but maybe only have been there 2 years. So I just think we need to be very careful about how we're doing that and make sure that everybody is being treated fairly.
That makes sense.
That's
We'll get those
that's my
questions
concern.
answered. Absolutely.
okay, do we have a motion to approve the attached policies for a first reading?
So move.
Second, Chamberlain.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anybody opposed? Okay, and Carol, just talk with Kelly and we'll take that up with the second reading.
Can I do the same for the one?
Yes, yes, take that up and talk about it, and then you guys can share that with everybody, your ideas and. All right, 9.1 consent agenda, 9.2 through 9.5. I need a motion to approve all consent agenda items, 9.2 through 9.5 as presented.
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, I need 10.1, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone